My memories of Perry Sangalli go back to when I first began at Xavier 18 years ago. Perry was on our board at the time and then became the chair of our board. He was a gracious leader for our school, helped our school through some difficult times, became a close friend and mentor to me. I always really valued his opinion, not just about education, but about life in general. And always was a person I could call upon for help and advice. Every time I saw him, whether here in Louisville or in Connecticut, he always took the time to set some time aside for me, and I always very much valued that.
Hi, my name is Don Macrino. I'm headmaster at St. Bernard School in Uncasville, Connecticut. I had the privilege of knowing Perry for the past 5 years. I'm new to the Xaverian network. And you know, as administrators, we meet fairly often as a group. And as is often the case, there's one voice that will rise to the top. And I must say that it was Perry's, for me, that rose to the top. His intellect, his calmness, his compassion for others, and his general knowledge through great experience always read very true. And when I needed a beacon, when things were dark, I could often get it from Perry. So it was my privilege and honor to know him.
And speaking about Perry Sangalli fills my heart with a lot of love. My first experience as a board member was actually here at St. Xavier in Louisville. And I entered as a young principal at the time with no board experience. And Perry was instrumental in not only welcoming me in only the way that he could, but also helping me understand how a board functions and the various components of the boardroom. I am forever indebted to him for his help on that front, but more so for his friendship. Many times throughout my career, I could get a phone call or an email from Perry at a moment of stress or a moment of trial, and Perry always had sage advice in words of wisdom that, quite honestly, I am very grateful for. So as I move forward in my career, I certainly will take a little bit of Perry Sangalli with me to those that I encounter. Thank you.
My name is George Andrews. I currently serve as president of Mount St. Joseph High School. I had the pleasure to work with Perry Sangalli as a young administrator at Mount St. Joseph's High School in the early 1990s. I learned an awful lot from him, and I was always impressed that everything that we discussed, every plan we made with the school was mission focused, and he had the thoughts I thought everything through in everything we discussed. And most thorough individual I've ever worked with, I think, in administration. And after that, I certainly have stayed in touch with him over the years. And it's sad to visit Louisville now and not have him here.
I've been an administrator for over 20 years in the Xaverian Brothers schools, and so I've known Perry for over 20 years as part of the network. And Perry was very Xaverian Brother-esque. He knew the language, he walked the walk of the Xaverian Brothers, and so he was very good with the history and just the spirit of that Xaverian way. Perry was that stalwart that knew the answer to any question that we had, whether he's a walking archive, whether it was something about the history of a brother or what's somebody doing now. He was always that go-to person. And also for all the questions that we had as administrators, he was somebody that we could always count on for a solid answer, or he's been through it before. Have a lot of love for Perry, and we're going to miss Perry and the Zavarian network. It's a huge shoe to fill.
I had just got the seat warm at Our Lady of Good Counsel High School in July of 2011 when I received a gift. Someone had sent me a potted plant, and it's the only gift I got when I started as president, and it turns out it came from Perry Sangalli. I had never met Perry, but he sent the plant and a beautiful note, and I really felt welcomed to the network by somebody who I was yet to meet. Subsequently, I met the man. I really appreciated his kindness and thoughtfulness, and that plant still sits much bigger in the corner of my office as a reminder of a colleague and a friend.
I've served on St. Xavier's board for 7 years now and came to know Perry pretty well through that service. One of the things that always struck me about him was his sense of hospitality. Whenever we'd come to town, he'd always make sure that we had the chance to make it out to dinner, and no matter where we went around Louisville, Perry was known, which is understandable given St. X's stature in the Louisville community, but I think what says more about Perry than just being known was that he was loved. Everywhere that we went, we would run into a St. X grad or a former parent, and they genuinely had high respect for Perry and were happy to see him. And no matter where we were or who we interacted with, Perry was always gracious, was always happy to be seen, but also happy to see. Treated everybody with the same love every time that we saw him. So Perry's a special individual, and I miss working with him.
When I think of Dr. Sangalli, I think of the word impact. He impacted so many, and for me it was personally and professionally. He was a true role model for me, and he lived the Xaverian values and included every one of us in the mission of St. X. And that's what made him so special for me, that he included all and excluded none. And for that, I'm forever grateful and glad to serve and glad to live his legacy and continue on here at St. X.
My first substantive interaction with Perry Sangalli came in my final 2 years at St. X when he served as my calculus teacher. I don't remember many of the specifics of that calculus course, but I do recall his deep-rooted concern for each of us, his students. Beyond just the calculus work that he did on our behalf, he wrote college recommendations for us, he attended our extracurriculars, and he kept in touch with us beyond graduation. I learned later that he and Brother James Kelly, the school president at the time, were concerned enough about me as a person that they hatched a plan to try to get me to smile more over the course of my last 2 years at St. X. That the principal of the school, amidst all his other responsibilities and worries, would strategize about how to ensure a student's emotional well-being, I think speaks to the depth of his care for me and for all his students. Years later, when I was living in other states and seeking to make career decisions, Perry was always more than willing to offer advice and guidance by email. And I was hardly unique in this regard. So many people in the St. X community and the wider church experienced the same care, the same concern from Perry.
Dr. Perry Sangalli was a man of extraordinary gifts and talents, and he shared all of those gifts and talents with us unselfishly. He was also a man who had high expectations for others, and he wanted for all of us to achieve to our highest level, and he was willing to support us and help us through that process. Ralph Waldo Emerson wrote, "To know even one life has breathed easier because you have lived. That is to have succeeded." Dr. Sangalli knew that true success was measured in what we did for others and the lives that we impacted along the way. Dr. Perry Sangalli and his impact will be felt by all of us and for generations to come.
Dr. Sangalli really demonstrated to me that he had a lot of confidence in my role as a leader in the school, my ability to teach and work with young men here. He was always a gentleman who helped me to see that there was more for me. I had greater strengths and talents that I could use. And as a result, I think I live my life every day looking to give others an opportunity to use their gifts and talents in a way that benefits not only them, but benefits others. And that's something that Dr. Sangalli gave to me, and I will forever be grateful. So I thank him forever for what he's done for me in my life and my professional life and with my family.